I think for most of us, when we think about a DAC, the first thing that comes to mind is a piece of equipment or something, or a chip, I should say, that is embedded in a piece of digital equipment that converts digital signals to analog waveforms. At least for me, when I think about a DAC, that is usually what comes to mind first. A standalone piece of audio equipment in many cases that is connected between, say, your streamer and your amplifier to kind of convert those digital signals to analog form, to kind of sweeten up the, the music, so to speak, give the music a nice sound signature, something more pleasing to, to your ears, if you know what I mean. So generally speaking, when I think of a DAC, those are the things that actually come to mind. But I did a little bit of research, and DACs are actually more than that. I mean, DACs are everywhere. They are not only used in audio equipment, but they're also used in industrial equipment, all sorts of stuff. So today, let's dive into DACs a little bit deeper. Let's get down under the hood, so to speak, and find out what DACs are all about and where we find them and how they're used. All right? So we live in a world where almost everything around us has gone digital, yet we still experience life in an analog, in analog through sound, light, movement, and touch. And that's why one small but powerful piece of tech quietly keeps our modern world running smoothly. The digital to analog converter, or the DAC as we call it. Now, you're probably used a DAC today without even realizing it. They are tucked away inside our phones, our cars, our computers, and even the machines that keep factories moving. In many ways, DACs are the translators that help digital devices speak the language of the real world. Now, what is a DAC exactly? What is a DAC? At its core though, a digital to analog converter takes digital information, those neat little strings of ones and zeros, and turn them into a smooth, continuous analog signal that we can understand. Digital system think in steps, but the world around us doesn't work that way. Sound waves, brightness levels, temperature changes, physical motion, these are all fluid and continuous, right? But a DAC bridges that gap. It lets a digital device produce something we can actually sense or use. Think about listening to music. Your favorite song starts out as a digital file, right? But before it reaches your ears, a DAC transforms those numbers into an electrical signal that becomes sound through your speakers or your headphones. And without that conversion, digital audio would stay trapped in the digital realm, in that whole digital realm, silent and unusable. So where are DACs found exactly? Have you ever thought of that? No, DACs are everywhere once you start noticing them. They show up in all kinds of electronics, from everyday gadgets to specialized industrial tools. If you have ever listened to music on a smartphone or a laptop, a pair of wireless earbuds, you have relied on a DAC. Home theater systems and external USB DACs used by audiophiles also depend on them to turn digital audio into analog sound, or analog sound waves, or where our ears can understand, right? While modern displays are mostly digital, older video equipment and certain professional systems still use DACs to convert digital video data into analog signals for monitors or projectors. But in more technical environments, DACs help control motors, operate measurement tools, and generate precise signals. These systems need accurate analog outputs, and DACs deliver exactly that. Many microcontrollers, tiny computers inside appliances, vehicles, and other smart devices, include built-in DACs. They use them to create analog voltages for sensors, actuators, and feedback loops. DACs act as the bridge between digital processing and analog output, and their applications are surprisingly diverse. Every digital song or audio stream must pass through a DAC before it becomes sound. Higher quality DACs can make music feel clearer and richer and more detailed. Some systems generate signals mathematically, like communication equipment, test instruments, or electronic musical synthesizers. DACs turn those calculated values into real analog waveforms. For example, in factories and automated systems, digital controllers rely on DACs to adjust monitors, valves, heating elements, and positioning systems. A digital command becomes precise analog output that drives real-world machinery. When paired with ADCs, which convert analog signals into digital, DACs help create what is called closed-loop systems. A processor can read data, make decisions, and then output an analog signal to control something, all thanks to the DAC. So why do DACs matter? Why do they matter? Because it's easy to overlook DACs, because they work quietly in the background. But without them, so much of our technology simply wouldn't function. Digital audio wouldn't make a sound. Industrial machines couldn't respond to digital commands. Computers couldn't generate analog waveforms. The digital world would be sealed off from the physical one. As our devices become more capable, so to speak, and more precise, the importance of high-quality DACs only grows, especially in fields like audio engineering, automation, and scientific measurements. If you have ever wondered how your favorite song, stored as a long string of ones and zeros, somehow becomes, the warm, familiar sound coming through your headphones, the answer lies in a tiny but powerful piece of technology, the digital to analog converter, or DAC. It's one of those components, most of us never see, yet it quietly shapes nearly every moment of modern listening. As you can see, DACs are not only found in audio systems. They're found in all facets of everyday life. Apart from our stereo systems, where we have our high-end DACs, whether it be an onboard DAC or an outboard piece of gear, they're found in manufacturing, in automotion, in transportation, in cars, or refrigerator, or appliances. That's what I'm trying to say. They're all around us everywhere. because essentially what they do, the DACs are used to convert digital inputs into an analog form so that we can comprehend it much better. So what were your thoughts about DAC? I mean, when you thought about a DAC, was it something that you've always thought of just, as just being in an audio system? If that was the case, I hope you found this video a little bit helpful and a little bit eye-opening, so to speak. I surely did after doing a bit of research. And if you like these videos, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, all right? So until the next one, you take care of yourself